In terms of the price target, my price target, well, I said back, I think in 2023 that my bear case, so my base, like lowest, I guess not base case, but bear case, lowest case for Bitcoin to hit in 2025 was 150K. I think that now that bear case is now off the table. And I don't mean to make this political. I know like there's going to be audience members that are like, why are you making everything political? But like, I seriously think that the election, the US election, was the thing that tipped the scales in favor of, taking that bear case off the table, because the Democrats, whether you like it or not, have been very hostile towards the Bitcoin and crypto industry in general. And there was a chance back in 2023, like it wasn't apparent, there was a chance that maybe the Democrats could sweep, right? Like by sweep, I mean they win the White House, they win the House of Representatives, and then they also win the Senate. There was a chance of that. And if they had control of all three chambers, then yeah, I think Bitcoin would top out at 150 because, Gary Gensler will get reappointed, and then they would continue with all these lawsuits to try and take down companies like Coinbase and Kraken and all these, crypto exchanges in the US, and they might try to ban Bitcoin mining because it like uses too much energy. So they're like trying to push out the Bitcoin miners into other countries and totally crack down on it. And maybe they don't have the authority to like go in there and shut down each miner, but they can do a lot of things, right? Regulatory enforcement. Just if you're a Bitcoin mining company, make your life so miserable that you just quit, you just unplug, and you just liquidate the company. So they could like soft ban Bitcoin mining, and they could kind of even soft ban Bitcoin itself, where they don't go as far as maybe like arresting you if you run a Bitcoin node, but they'll just make your life a living hell so that you stop pursuing the Bitcoin stuff, right? So I think that would have been a route that was definitely possible, especially with the Democratic sweep. And since we had the total opposite, since we had a Republican sweep and we have a president-elect coming into office that is pro crypto and pro Bitcoin, I think that 150K target is now off the table. And my base case is now, my bear case is now 200K, and my base case is 250K, which, still is like a little bit conservative, but I like to sandbag a little. But yeah, I agree with Tristan. I think there is a scenario where it hits 500K. And let me explain how, like, what happens, what needs to happen in order for us to get there. So I think that there is a chance that China will unban Bitcoin. And I know we've been through this argument that, like, they like to ban it and then unban it just so that they can ban it again. We've been through this. Veteran Bitcoiners know they did this multiple times already, where they banned it just so that they can unban it, so that they can ban it again. But I think there's a chance that they could unban it for real this time and keep it unbanned, because Hong Kong has approved Bitcoin ETFs, right? Spot Bitcoin ETFs. And although the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, although they don't have full control over everything that happens in Hong Kong, you can bet something like, financial related matters like an ETF, this needs at least tacit approval from the Chinese mainland government. They still have enough control such that if they really wanted to, like, kill this thing, like not let the ETF in Hong Kong happen, they have the ability to do that. But they let it through, right? So we can tell that the Chinese government at least has tacit approval of Bitcoin, even though it's still kind of, banned in the mainland. But what I think they're doing is they're opening up a digital playground in Hong Kong and seeing how things go. And I think that eventually they're going to realize that Bitcoin is a great weapon to use against the US dollar, which is the real kind of goal that they're trying to achieve. And I don't think that they're going to realize that the world's not going to want to use the Chinese RMB, right? They're going to want to, like, compromise and use something that's kind of in the middle, and it still erodes the power of the US dollar, but it's not like, the US still has some stake in it. And then I think China's going to realize that, we need a stake in this market too. So I think that if China unbans Bitcoin in 2025, and we have all this stuff about a strategic Bitcoin reserve, apparently there's supposed to be some sort of announcement tomorrow on Thursday, December the 12th, about a new country adopting a strategic reserve. I don't know what that's about. Maybe it's a nothing burger. Maybe it'll be one of the Middle Eastern countries. Maybe it's Russia. Who knows, right? But I think we'll see like Bitcoin adoption just kind of skyrocket, especially with a pro Bitcoin administration in the United States coming into office. So I think all the pieces are falling together, and I do think that if everything falls together perfectly, then there's a really good chance that Bitcoin goes to 400 to 500K. And that's kind of like my bull case. So I don't know if any of you want to respond.
Yeah, the nation state adoption is a big deal, and it kind of like breaks most models. So I don't know how much intensity comes in, but like if like the rumor, and we'll see tomorrow, but the rumor is that the UAE is going to be the country to announce. Like UAE is a significant economy in the Middle East. Like that means that a lot of other Middle Eastern economies are going to have to react to that. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman. There's a lot of countries with a lot of oil wealth that would probably want to hedge their bets in the same way UAE is. So I just think that, and then you talk about the United States and the strategic reserve. Like the U.S. probably wouldn't actually buy Bitcoin. Who knows? I don't think they're going to necessarily buy Bitcoin. I think they're just going to like take their stockpile they already have that they got from like the, I think it was the Silk Road money and all that kind of stuff that they're supposed to disperse over time. And I think that they're just gonna make that U.S. government Bitcoin. They're just gonna confiscate it, probably give the credit holders who are due money back in treasuries. And I think that, and then just imagine all the countries in the world that react to the United States holding Bitcoin as a strategic asset. That's where things get really crazy. So I could see it blowing through the roof and going to $1 million and touching it before it comes back down. That's like secretly I'm hoping that does happen, but I can see it happening. I really can. And I agree 100% with what you said, Andy, when it comes to like the regulatory framework. Like I think there's definitely wind behind the sails at this point, because all that uncertainty, all that soft banding the United States was basically doing in the Biden administration, and what they were kind of planning on doing, like potentially banning Bitcoin mining in the US and stuff, was going to have an impact, I would say, on the price, at least going into the early days of the Biden administration. Potentially a Biden administration or a Harris administration would have ended up being an accelerant to Bitcoin, though, because of like reckless spending. Who knows? There's different ways and different angles to look at this from, but certainly the price action post-election has a lot to do with an improving regulatory framework.
How unlucky would that have been if Harris was elected and then she did a sweeping mining ban in the US, right? Because if you remember back in 2021, it was a China mining ban that kind of took the wind out of the sails of the Bitcoin bull market. This was in like, I don't know, April or May of 2021. And then as soon as the mining ban came, China owned like, I think it was like 40% of the entire network's hash rate. It was in China at the time of the ban. And then most of it, like some people went underground and kept on mining, but the vast majority of the miners, they had to leave the country. Some were like trying to, go to Kazakhstan because they had like oil and coal and all that stuff. Yeah, like people were just fleeing China and trying to like take their miners with them. But then, it's not so easy to like suddenly move stacks and stacks of machines, right? And imagine if the US, like a lot of it came to the US actually. And now imagine if in 2025, the US, Harris wins, and then the US does a mining ban, and then we all go back to China, like, or like what happens then, right? Because I don't know, it would have just been really bad. And again, I don't mean to make everything political, but this is just a fact, right? Like the Democrats are still to this day, I think, super against crypto. Maybe some Democrats are starting to come around, but the vast majority of them are still against it, and it would have been really bad for Bitcoin's price and for making money in this space if you were in it, quite frankly, right? If they won, but thankfully to us, they didn't, and now we're staring down a big bull market that is incoming, in my opinion.